seeds stored for this life, and then when they end, like when they run out, then this life ends, which seems like it would be the cause for death. But is it because those seeds are ending that death is caused, or that you have seeds for death to start?
Okay, right. I think you could look at it either way, but also when I said that when the karma for this life finishes, we die, it's the same. It's not like you can't do anything at all about it. For instance, what is the cause of an early death? It's harming others. The cause for being killed is you've killed others. So the cause for the karma running out in this life, if we do practices to protect life, for instance, there are a lot of Amitabha Buddhist Center in Singapore. They do these massive animal liberations. They save massive amounts of fishes and other kinds of creatures. They save them from death. So if you have some life-threatening illness, sometimes the recommendation is to go save sentient beings. In other words, go to the bait store and buy some worms and go put them in your garden. Or get some live bait. You know, sometimes I think of these little mice that get stuck in the cages with the snakes and things.
That's cold-blooded.
Isn't that the pits?
That is bad.
So you buy a few of those mice and let them give them a longer life. You know, at least you're protecting life. So then you're giving more longevity seeds, right? Like a relationship. You have a relationship, and this happens a lot. You're in a relationship, and you're married, and then that marriage dissolves. Why? Because the seeds for that relationship finished. Why? Because you didn't continue to plant the seeds. It's simple to see, really, how relationships fall apart because they're not nurtured. It's quite interesting to see that. So we have to tend our garden. What we want, we have to create the causes for them to stay within our life. Yeah? I didn't really answer your question, did I? Yeah. I think it could be either way, actually. I can't tell you. Karma is one of those only a Buddha knows. Whenever you get a question that you can't answer, only the enlightened ones know that. They do say that karma is a very, very difficult to understand. We're going to talk a little bit about karma maybe next week. But so I can't really say whether it's because the seeds for this life ran out, or because you had a seed for death that was ripening at that moment. Sounds to me, the story about the man that was killed by the log, seems like it's probably both, doesn't it?
Yeah, because I was wondering, like, maybe you can have the seeds run out for this life, but you don't have the seeds for the process of death. Or like maybe there are different.
Well, you do have the seed for the process of death, as long as you're in samsara. There isn't any question. Death begins at birth.
So my question is, can you plant seeds for death? Can you be so sad that you wish that you would just die and then begin dying? But you say it begins at birth. That makes more sense. It's not really within our control.
No, there are people who want to die, but they can't die because karma for this life hasn't finished yet. And the idea of, sometimes the question of euthanasia comes up. the answers that I've heard about that is that even if you have a suffering condition and you are suffering in this life, if you have the ability, this is a suffering that you created the cause to experience. So if you can finish that suffering in this life with a human mind that has the ability to see it as that, as finishing this negative karma, as opposed to putting yourself out of your misery, because you don't really know what the next life has in store. Might be more miserable.
Yikes.
Yes. Yes.
When you see people suffer from really severe mental illness, really, not just mental illness as like psychosis or schizophrenia, I mean depression, crippling depression.
Yeah.
Is that seeds from a previous life? They're working out their karma. How do you help support that person then? How do you apply wisdom and compassion to someone who feels that way?
You can only, by recognizing that your help is limited, just loving them for who they are, where they are. We can't really affect change for someone else, and it's to have a precious human life, one has to have all the sense faculties. So they don't have a precious human life. Yes, they have a human life, but they created the cause to have this kind of suffering life. And that's why having this precious human life is so very rare and so very precious. Because with it, then you have the potential to actually extricate yourself from this.
How can they? Like if it's their karma, right? How can they?
Difficult. Like in getting out of the lower realms is exceedingly difficult because there's so much suffering there. It's very hard to practice. And they say the cause for having a precious human life is pure prayer and pure morality. They say pure morality and the rest, meaning the 6 perfections. But essentially living an ethical life and praying, having a spiritual life, then plants the seeds to be able to continue that until you're fully cooked. It is difficult. Lama Zopa Rinpoche is very good at blessing, animals and human beings who are less fortunate, and trying as much as possible through the power of hearing. They say even birds who perched on the windowsill of a holy being who was reciting prayers had the seeds of that prayer planted in their mental continuum, and then at some point that when the condition is right, it ripens and they have an opportunity to practice. Or accidentally circumambulating a stupa, Rinpoche will take animals, take them around stupas to bless their mind. And I don't really know how all that works. I can't say that I can give you the exact, these are the exact points, the 3 points and the 9 reasonings. I can't tell you exactly how that works, but with faith, there was a monk who was not very bright, and he was given the practice, the Buddha gave him the practice of sweeping the floor. And when I sweep the floor, I clean my mind. Sweeping the floor, cleaning my mind. And he did that over a number of years and became highly realized in that lifetime. And was actually giving teachings afterwards.
So how's our karma, we're maybe going off topic, but when we speak of our seeds, right, and that our children and the people that we hold dear to us in our multitudes of lives could very well have been our worst enemy, or a parent of ours, or somebody we didn't even know.
Mm-hmm.
How does the interactions of the relationships that are created and the interconnectedness of the people that come in and out of your lives, how is that karma? Is there a reason for it, for the people that you interact with, maybe someone who is suffering from pretty severe depression? Is it to lift you out of your own suffering? For you
Well,
to
you've
learn?
created the cause to have that in your world.
Mm.
So how you respond to that then allows you to change seeing that in your world. It's all fodder, all being able to use it to grow our loving kindness and our compassion as much as possible. And not to be attached, you see. The problem is we want to help, and we try to help, and we do something, and it doesn't work. But if we're attached to the result, then that's just more suffering. But we do with a good heart, and we do as much as possible what we can do in order to benefit those people who are depression, people in your world who close to you that suffer so much. It's painful. And it's by also being able to see that they created the cause to experience that result. It's not your fault.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting when you're a parent, to see the children in your life and what they experience, and wishing, feeling, what did I do wrong? Seeing that really the best thing we can do is to just love them for where they are. And that's true with everyone. And then by being that way, then there are sometimes little inroads that you can make. Just being with someone and listening. Just listening. Holding someone's hand who's depressed and just listening and accepting them for who they are. Instead of trying to give them hints about how they could try this or think about that, and if you would just do this, and maybe if you thought that. They've tried all that. None of it worked, right? But just being present and giving love. That's really all we can do for people who are in that kind of a circumstance.
When they come to you and they ask you for help, it's just another presentation of the same thing, but then it's on you to be able to explain to them.
If you can, yes, whatever you can, as much as possible.
Yeah, I can't help you. But look,
Yes.
look at what is beautiful, holy, and good.
Yes, and then they come back with, I can't see anything beautiful,
Keep
beautiful,
looking.
holy, and good. Yeah, we do our best.
Can I
So,
ask one more question?
yes.
So you spoke briefly, I think the first or second week, about how love relationships have an inherent need attached to them. How do you remove the need? How can you just, I don't know how to do that, and I struggle personally with, and it really, really resonated. I was like, my God, like that is something that really bothers me about myself. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'm not the only one.
Needing to have, needing something from the other.
Yes, in romantic relationships, not
In-
friendships, but in romantic
Mm-hmm.
relationships, that is the thing that just cans them. That need for something in return, and not just being present with what is. I don't know how to apply the Dharma. I don't know how to apply the practice.
You
in
just
that.
said it.
What?
Being with what is.
Oh, okay.
Being okay to be with what is.
I haven't developed that capacity.
When you find the person that meets the list of okayness, it'll get easier.
I'm sorry, would you repeat that?
Finding the person that meets the list of okayness, trying to make someone okay that doesn't really resonate with who we are, will never become okay.
Right. Well, yes, that's true. And there will always be, in every relationship, there will always not be enough.
Yeah.
There will always be a situation that you wish were different. So what I do is focus on the good. Whatever there is, then I focus on that. And whenever the thought of I want comes up, I think about what I have. And it's useful to stop it in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's when we begin to feel a lack. We don't have, we want. It's that restless desire, which is the characteristic of the human mind. Restless desire, wanting.
I don't know how to stop it. I understand it, completely get it. Like it makes complete sense. I just don't know how to cultivate.
I have that too. I got that too big time. And it like kind of spun off into a cycle with it recently.
Yes.
I noticed it's a trend, right? So I'm
Mhm.
noticing this trend in myself, and I was like, God, I'm thinking a lot about myself right now. Like it's all very much centered around me, and I was like, what can I actually do for them? Like, just get out of this like cycle and just actually what can I, instead of like even beyond thinking, like how can I show this person that I love them? You know, I can do something for them. And I did. It was nice. It felt like a, you know, like a attack to the old habit.
Yeah. Did it work?
Yeah, I felt. I mean, yeah. You know, it would be interesting to see how I reacted if, like, she didn't respond, like, you know, like, but no, it was a good response to it. So, but it helped. I felt better too.
Right.
Dan, you have something to
Yeah,
say?
talking about relationships, now it reminded me of something you said earlier. You used the term ignorant attachment. Then is there wise attachment?
Ignorant attachment believes that our happiness is dependent upon the object to which we're attached. Attachment, we are attached to, we are desirous of children being safe. I'm trying to think of examples that are not popping right now.
Well, a kind
Excellent
of
health.
relationship. I mean, a kind.
Yes, we are. We do want to have loving kindness and compassion and joy in our life, and there's nothing wrong with that. Having desire for peace, there's nothing wrong with that. So this sort of ignorant attachment overestimates. This is what it does. It exaggerates the positive qualities of that object, and then seeks to possess it. And then ignorant aversion is just the opposite, exaggerating the negative qualities of that object and then wishing to harm it or be finished with it. So typically, in a relationship, particularly new relationships, this is very common in new relationships. You see someone and you really resonate with them and you want to get to know them and you get to know them and they're handsome or they're beautiful and you build on all their good qualities and you only hear the sweet things they say and you just think about all these good things. And then when you get to know them really well, you do see that they also have a few of these qualities over here that you are not so enamored with. And that's the truth.
Goes both ways, though. Like,
Yes,
come on.
absolutely. It is the way, this is samsara. This is the way it is. But we don't look at things realistically. We don't recognize that this, when we talk about emptiness, the emptiness means the emptiness of the inherent existence of that object. It has no inherently good or bad qualities. But if we want it, we're going to exaggerate its good qualities. And we're going to diminish its bad qualities. We're not even going to look at them until later.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when then they begin to be a little bit too much in your face.
Yeah.
And then we go, wow,
So is that like ignorant creating with our mind?
sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Like we're not paying attention to what we're creating, and we're using our mind for something that's really personal, kind of.
To grow our attachment is what we're
Right,
doing.
attachment.
We're growing our attachment, as opposed to, there's nothing wrong with having a relationship, and a loving relationship, and really enjoying that relationship. As a matter of fact, having a relationship is one of the quickest ways to cut through your own garbage.
Well, that's how I feel about it right now. Like, it's just speaking about it. I needed it in context of what the Dharma says, what the Buddha says about it, because it's important to be able to practice that.
Yes.
And part of life, it's not this separation between this happens here and this doesn't happen here.
Right.
So I'm asking in the
Yes.
context of.
Yes, it's trying to recognize how it is that we don't like a specific aspect. And you have to make a decision, actually, in your life, whether this is helpful in your life to have a relationship like this, or it's not helpful. It's difficult to have a relationship unless both people are willing to practice on each other, with each other. That's a really special kind of relationship. If you have a partner who is a Dharma practitioner, that is,
It makes it easier.
it's really very, very precious, actually, and kind of rare. Mhm.
I just wanted to mention on your topic about having a relationship and falling in love, and this opening to love workshop that we had a little while back really resonated with me. It said, when you fall in love, you don't ask yourself the question, you don't make separations, differences between you and the other. You just come together. That's falling in love. And then when your material mind gets a hold of that, and then you start like applying the story, you know, of how love is supposed to work out on the planet, and everything you do is a separation. So then if you want to be one, and then you focus on the one, both of you do, and then you can be in love, in the greater love.
Love is wishing the beloved to have happiness. That's what true, real love is. Wishing the beloved to have happiness. So if both parties are trying that, then both parties are growing love. And it's a different kind of relationship. It's not a grasping onto how is it going to look when I'm with that person? You know,
Yeah.
we go to the party together, you know, that's cool. It's really about that person is your object of practice. And it can be really great. So we're just dying to get into it, aren't we? Somebody's hat that was on the floor.
Mine. Thank you.
I thought that was a present for you.
You want it?
Thank you.
I give you anything.
Oh, that's very kind. All right, let's see. Okay, well, we're going to have to die quickly. It's not usually how it happens, but do you need to stretch before you
die.
Let me check the weather.
You know, we do joke, but it is quite possible that this will be our last session. That possibility is very real. And that is a sobering thought, thinking that now, in this moment, let me take this moment to gather all my powers of concentration and be present. So just for a few minutes, let's settle by turning our awareness to the breath. Imagine now you're sitting across from a doctor in his office, and he tells you, "I'm sorry, but the tests did not come out well, and there's nothing I can do for you. Go home, get your affairs in order." So you imagine those things that you do. What will you do? You say your goodbyes. You put your finances in order. You start giving things away. And you are becoming weaker. Not really able to eat much. Most of your time spent in bed. Feel yourself lying in the bed. Really, you are at peace because you have practiced and you know that this death is part of your life. It's like changing your clothing. And you have finished saying your goodbyes. And you feel content. You have no regrets. You practiced well. You loved well. You have no grudges. You purified all your regrets. And as you lie there, your body begins to feel quite heavy. Not really able to move. And because you have practiced, you know this is the earth element dissolving. Absorbing up into the water element. Your eye consciousness ceases to function. There is an inner vision, like a mirage. And you know that death is coming, and at the time of death, your clear light mind will manifest. And you make a strong determination to meditate there. As the water element begins to absorb up into the fire element, the fluids in your body dry up. You feel thirsty. Your ear consciousness ceases to function. There is an inner vision of smoke or fog. And again, you make a strong determination to meditate on the clear light when it manifests. The fire element absorbs up into the wind element. You begin to feel quite cold. Nose consciousness ceases to function. There's an inner vision of sparks in a night sky.